My favorite thing about YouTube is people discovering our show through the clips of it. Like, people don't watch the entire show, but we do these clips that they get cut out of like a certain segment, and it's a 10-minute segment, and then it pops into people's algorithm who don't listen to the show regularly or don't follow or know anything about us.
I give Jake a lot of credit. I can't tell you more than just simply saying I despise short clips of shows.
Well, there was an entire segment that was posted
yeah.
yesterday, an entire segment in Blazer. It got into the Blazer algorithm, boy, oh boy, did I love reading some of those comments, man.
Was it great?
Oh, they were fantastic.
How much do they hate you?
They all hate me.
Yeah.
I'm the problem, not the organization. So, we're focusing on the real important issues here. We need better radio hosts in Portland. I couldn't disagree more on everything you said. These guys are finally clicking together. It's amazing to see. I genuinely believe this team could be on to something big if they continue at the pace they're on right now. A lot of those kind of comments.
Yeah, that certainly I know people in real life that actually feel that way.
Yeah.
That it's a 10-game sample size. Yeah, so what? It's enough games for me to say that this is special.
This is special. I feel good.
We'll see if they beat the Kings. They are red hot, and then their road trip's going to be interesting because Minnesota and then back-to-backs with Dallas.
Yeah.
Or Denver, excuse me. That schedule's going to get a little more difficult. It's not going to be all home games against teams that just came from Utah.
Nope.
But we'll see what they do. The deadline itself is going to expire here in about 4.5 hours. And here's my only question that he's not going to answer this. This isn't a question he could publicly ever answer. Joe held to his guns on the Dame stuff, right? Like, Dame's biggest sin demanding the trade wasn't demanding the trade. It was going public with one team and one team only.
So adamantly that he wanted to go to Miami.
Had he just done, and you can simply say, Sprague, De'Aaron Fox wanted the Spurs. He got the Spurs. You're not wrong. I'm not here to talk about like giving a guy what he wants versus telling him F you. Drew Holiday didn't even lace him up here, and he was given his wish list and granted that.
Here's Boston.
I don't quite understand that, but, they wanted Denny, and they found a way to get Denny, and they got Rob, and okay, whatever. I'm curious because Joe held to his guns on the Dame trade of, like, not just Miami. So he sends him to Milwaukee, and he gets the stuff from Milwaukee. He parlays that into other deals. I am kind of curious, and I've talked about this with other people locally on text, how much he just holds to, if I don't get what I want, I don't do it. And I'm not saying, like, go lose all the trades. No, not by any stretch. But whenever you hear the Blazers involved in a trade, don't you almost always hear they want this or they don't do it?
Yeah, we're not going to make the deal.
Yeah. And I'm, again, a Williams just went for a first and a swap and 2 players. So you could point to and say, see, Sprague, he was right. He should have got a first for Robert Williams. But they took the younger Williams, who plays the same position. And so we'll see today if any team is going to give him a 1 for Robert Williams or dive into the Jeremy Grant contract or say, hey, we could use an Anthony Simons, though a listener points out Colby White's averaging basically the same stuff on a much cheaper deal in Chicago, and Chicago wants to suck. But I just that's something I'm wondering now. I think how do you be a fan of this franchise and not just like wonder stuff? That's where I get lost in the weeds is people can hate your take and say, I think this Blazer team's turning a corner. Fine, fair point. But the people who don't question teams, their favorite teams, I'll never understand you as a human being.
Yes.
I am constantly about my football team's good in the NFL. They had a bad year this year. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, why did you make that decision?
Are we gonna
why
move
was
that
the
guy?
hire? Why did you go that way?
Why this guy? Why that guy? How you're not constantly doing, maybe that's just my East Coast bloodlines that come from Jersey that's just really showing itself because in the West Coast, we're a bunch of hippies who just want to live, man, and watch sports and be happy. Maybe that's the difference between us and DNA. But I will always ask questions, and that's something I'm wondering about them on deadline day is there price points that he's just unwilling to move off of, even if it may free up the future at certain positions.
Even if it's the right decision long term.
Maybe it is the right move. Maybe it's not.
We don't know. Hindsight is how we're going to judge all of these, and that's why these guys get paid millions of dollars to make these calls. It's not an easy thing to do. I do think there is a huge percentage of this city that is a small market mindset city that doesn't want to question, doesn't want to rattle the cage. I think that's true with a lot of local media too. There's a lot of people that just kind of come along, go along, and want to report what they want to report, and there's not a lot of poking of the bear or wanting to upset the hand that feeds you.
Well, we've never been a hostile media market.
No, we never have, and I would argue that's part of our problem. We've never been a hostile fan base. I would argue that's part of our problem. It takes one 10-game winning streak for us to totally flip and be like, God, this is so much fun. I'm having a great time. I couldn't disagree more with that. I tend to be in the same line of thinking as you. The other things I will add to this, I think sometimes we pretend that these people are in a bubble and they don't hear any of the outside noise or don't hear some of the chatter that's out there, both from media and from fans. And I don't think that's the truth. And I'm wondering with Cronin on two fronts. Mm-hmm. One, how much, and I don't know if they would have been able to move these guys either way, because the Grant contract's bad, the Ayton contract is terrible. There's wondering if Anthony Simon's contract is bad, and Robert Williams has injury issues, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all of these guys have a bit of a red flag when you're trying to trade them at the deadline.
There's a
that's going to keep them a little limited in what you can get in return. But when Joe Cronin took over, what were some of the first moves that he decided to make? What was the first decisions that he made that year that he took over as the interim general manager for Neil O'Shea?
Well, he traded the biggest.
He traded C.J. McCollum.
Biggest piece.
He traded Norman Powell. Yep. And what was the reaction? Not from everybody, but from a huge chunk of the fan base.
Thank you.
Well, no, you got fleeced. This is why we operate as we do.
Trade itself.
So that's all you got for C.J. McCollum. That's all you got for Norman Powell.
Well, that's an overvaluing an asset.
Without a doubt.
That's also an us problem.
But exactly, and this is what I'm saying is I wonder how much of that seeps into your brain of if you traded Jeremy Grant now, after saying in the summer, I'm holding out for 2 first-round picks, we're not going to move him for anything less than that, and then you trade him for less than that, let's say it's a Zach LaVine-type return for Jeremy Grant, because his contract is that bad that might be all that you get. There's going to be a pushback from what? Jeremy Grant? How are you not getting more for him? Because that's the way we operate in this city. That's the problem with this fan base. And the other thing I'll add is I do wonder genuinely how much the last 10 games has affected their thinking and how aggressive they want to be in making calls. There are legitimately people who were watching the Blazers. We had people text into the show yesterday and say that was the first time I watched a Blazer game since they traded Dame. That all took 1 10-game stretch is all it took. You boycotted them. I'm not watching. I'm not doing it. 1 10-game stretch. And it's like, fun. Dude, I'm back on. Yeah. What do you think the crowd's going to look like tonight?
Oh, pretty packed.
Probably pretty packed. It's a Thursday night. Yeah. They've won 9 out of 10. So how much of that is dictating what decisions they're going to make this afternoon?
Swag, do you wonder any of this? It's just like something
I constantly
wonder
all the time. What are they thinking? What is the direction? Because your actions ultimately tell you what direction they are going in. What do they believe they have? Do they believe this is, if they think they've got the core unit of it, then why aren't you a buyer? Why aren't you adding something? Or
being a buyer would be a wild turn, wouldn't it?
Could you imagine
something? Show me something.
I can actually.
Let's use a Milwaukee first-round pick to go get something.
But at least I'll know where they're going. I can agree or disagree or think it'll work or not work.
Right. But it's the 2 timeline thing that they've been on for 2 years now.
But riding the fence on this, at some point you have to decide ultimately what you're doing, and I don't feel like I am any closer to that decision than we were 2 seasons ago.
I might not agree with every move, but the one thing I can't get off of in honest to God thought is he's had to have tried to move some of these guys.
I would think so.
I would imagine so.
And so maybe not moving them.
I would hope so. I should say.
We never fully get the details of all this stuff, right? It's some of this is just straight like I read, I put together an opinion on it.
Yeah.
Maybe he has called every team in the league on 3 dudes, and he's been like universally told, I don't want to take that contract on right now. Maybe he is an off-season trade because he hasn't. Like I think Ant's expiring next year, so like maybe Anthony in the summer could combo guard.
Expiring deal.
He's a combo guard. That's what he is. He's expiring. Okay, well maybe we'll take that on now. He could have very well been told no by 29 other teams. I just refuse to believe he hasn't tried. And that's the tough part about that job is if you try and you don't succeed, you kind of get hit for it.
You do.
But that if you do it and it doesn't match how people feel,
it's not the kind of return we wanted. You got fleeced. Why would you make that trade?
You get hit for it.
Yeah.
Now, will they make a move?
No,
in the
I
next
don't think
4.5 hours.
I don't think that they will.
I think they will.
Okay. Who's going to get dealt?
Wapreith.
You just hit a game winner in the G League, dude. That guy's untouchable.
We can't dismantle the
You
remix.
cannot dismantle. What are we doing? You psycho. What are you thinking over there? You can't trade Duop Reef. Hitting game winners out here. Remix.
We're about to win 10 out of our last 11 tonight. We're going to be the
I
Kangs.
think they're going to win tonight. No trades.
Wouldn't it be
Future's bright,
wild
baby.
if they became buyers?
I don't even want to entertain that. I don't even want to go there. It's not funny to joke about. It's not. No.
I think it's fun to joke about.
No.
Go on a
not
hot
funny.
streak. Getting that playing, baby.
Where does it hurt? It hurts everywhere. That's where it hurts right now.
It's like a bad leg day the
Where
next
is it?
day.
I can't walk, man. Please, God, don't be a buyer at the deadline. You know what helps a lot of this, though?
Yeah.
You know what helps a lot of this? A lot of this kind
Scoot being good.
A lot of these questions that we're asking,
Tamani being
Swag
good.
wanting to know, hey, what are we, either way, I could disagree with it. Are we going to, what's the future? DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons or Scoot and Shaded? What's your future? Donovan Clingan, right?
Well, I would hope some of those don't need to be debates. It's clearly Scoot. They took him third overall.
Look, I don't know. He's coming off the bench in his second year. Shaden's coming off the bench in his third year. So I don't know what your future is. You know what helps a little bit of this? You know what helps a little bit of this? Having an owner with a vision.
Okay.
Having an owner who says, this is kind of what I want. This is what I want the organization to look like. Why don't we go accomplish these goals?
Aren't they asking that in
What would
Dallas?
this be?
What's the vision in Dallas?
Well,
It's
let's-
Nico Harrison, whatever Nico wants to do, because that ownership group ain't doing anything.
Let's not get bought by an Adelson. How about that?
And then run by a Dumont.
Dumont.
You know that she can't run the team? They have Dumont running it. He's a stepson, I think, of Adelson's wife.
I love that. I love that argument too that people will make. Well, there's other bad owners out there. It could be worse. Like, yeah, there's like two that are worse than this. So it technically could be worse, but a lot of them aren't.
All right. We'll give you updates. If there's any trades, we will pass them along. We try to be as reasonable and rational as we can. I'm sorry that there are clips that circulate that make you hate us from time to time.
Oh, this one's going to piss a lot of people off.
I don't think it will.
It will. We're soft as a city and we're soft as a fan base. I figured I'd add that in there at the end. Just to thank you.
I do
Thank
have
you.
Jersey in my DNA. There is a little anger I live with.
We need to boo Santa Claus. We need to hold our people accountable. Can we put a jail in our stadium? Like, can we have look?
Do
you
Blazer fans need to boo Santa Claus?
feel
yes
how you
or
want to
no?
feel about Philly. I'm jealous of their city and I'm jealous of their fan base. Dude, they booed their team the first game after they won a Super Bowl. That's the kind of attitude I want my fan base
We
to
need
have.
the Sonics back.
Oh God! Don't put that in the clip.
Put that in the clip. That needs to go in the clip.
No, we need them because that stirred up the rivalry.
We
does.
need something to hate and
We
see a
need
team and
something
say
to
No,
"I
the
hate
other
you."
the other biggest thing we need for this fan base, and honestly, we need another team. We need another team to
Hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable. Oh, your Blazers are stuck in nowhere, no man's land purgatory. Guess what? I'm going to go buy season tickets and sit on the river and watch baseball all summer. That's what we desperately need in this city.